Brad, what is the most common story and what are you seeing within the client environments as a result of the current compute climate?
A lot of it, I think, just comes down to people struggling to figure out how to get all their staff working correctly, how to be able to support and maintain a secure environment through all the changes that are going on, not just from the ones directly related to COVID, but really what we're seeing across the board from just as people are starting to come back to work, how is that being realized? How is that environment being put together? And really, are the right controls in place? Are organizations able to see what's going on? Are they able to control their most sensitive data? Are they able to know where their challenges are and really protect their environment as best as possible?
What are your thoughts on some of the security controls that we should focus on, right, with this new landscape?
I don't know that we should focus necessarily on any one specific control, only because it depends on the current status of the environment in which you're working. If you've got a lot of your basic stuff buttoned up, yes, you can move on to the more advanced stuff. It kind of ties in with your previous question. What are we seeing the most of? Well, I see a lot of people who do the Yosemite Sam approach of security, just shoot everything that moves, instead of planning it out, doing an actual assessment so that you can identify where your gaps are, what type of a maturity model you need to establish, and what your risk registry is. And with that risk registry, it feeds directly into a roadmap. You tackle one thing at a time, and you operationalize it. You can budget it out, and you have it all laid out for yourselves and for senior leadership so that there's no surprises, and you just iterate through it.
How does the pandemic affect remote workers or increase the effect organizations that have PCI, HIPAA, or other regulatory compliance that they have to meet? Are there complexities there?
Yeah, so obviously the pandemic piece really brings into question how organizations, especially audit departments, are going to be dealing with things that they have to get done, like PCI audits or other regulatory audit pieces. And, it's since a lot of things have shifted, as both Garth has said and Rob had said, that shift means the challenges here are now changing. Again, knowing where that data is, having a good understanding of being able to demonstrate to a third party, like an outside auditor, as far as where our most critical data is residing, how things are transacting through the organization. All those become more and more complex.
There's two components that I like the most in security, and they're obviously easy ones: identity and data. And we were just talking about data a whole bunch. And I think that the other side of that coin really is identity, and making sure that identity is managed appropriately.
Back to the basics. Fundamental patching, right? Fundamental vulnerability management, build a strong assurance program. So if anything, that attack surface has changed, but the attack structures are the same. Rob, any thoughts on that topic?
Oh, well, they've greatly expanded over the past 6 months, 4 months even, as the increase in remote workers have proliferated exponentially. The surface itself is greater. So now it ties into what I think Garth was saying about where's the data? Show me the data. Are those users pulling the data down? Do they have access to the data that they shouldn't have access to? Have concessions been made for those workers that shouldn't have been made for that access?
We're in a decline in a financial market, and we're going to have to be creative as businesses come back online. So, taking a look at optimizing what's working in an organization, right? Eliminating some of that sprawl, right? Where you were headed with multiple overlapping systems, and really getting a little bit tighter with maximizing, if you will, the security platforms or security control vendors that are in place is probably a pretty good place for clients to use their time. Let's define zero trust, because when we talk to partner A, who might do email security, it means one thing. When we talk to an identity vendor, it means something else. So I think we have to help our clients, remove that confusion and ensure there's maturity so that zero trust is meaningful in their organization. Rob, I'm going to stay with you for a minute to continue that, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So if you were to build out an actual zero trust environment, you're basically treating every single endpoint as though it is an outsider. Now, how does that look? Well, it basically treats everything as hostile, which necessitates and requires that you have a great NAC solution in place. The network access control to identify what controls that endpoint has. Is it sufficient to get in? Identity access management becomes paramount at that point. Privileged access management, all access management becomes paramount, and it all comes down to then who is accessing what, and do they have the actual permissions to do so?